Hey yo, it is March the 7th of 2023. And y'all, you may already know this about me if you hung around for long enough, but I can assure you that I've said more than a couple of dozen things in these hundreds and I don't know, thousands of videos that have been put out that I've put out. Certainly I've said over a couple dozen things that would get me banned or canceled forever, ever. All right, it's as simple as people digging through all that stuff. I would just delete all these videos that I made. It's a lot of videos. I mean, that'd be a lot of work, I think. I don't know. The internet's forever, right? So if somebody digged hard enough, they would definitely be able to find whatever, even if I go through the trouble of deleting them or whatever. But okay. I say that to say this. I've already said enough to be canceled. If I already get notoriety or big or, start getting money for this and that and people know me, then I would automatically get canceled like 20 times over already. And it's like, you think about that like as sabotage on myself, perhaps. But I believe in free speech, and also I love everybody. And I've said it so many times, and I always say it. I love everybody to include everybody, not excluding nobody. All right, you can name any number of names. Do I love that person? Yeah, I do. And lots of times I don't like what they done. Perhaps there's things that I've done that I didn't really like either. All right, I love everybody. Anyways, okay. Real quick, I wanted to touch upon, a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't talked about it, but it's been like on my mind, is Scott Adams. If you've heard all this shenanigans, Scott Adams, he said this and that. I don't know if you haven't heard, because everybody's heard about this. Scott Adams, he said more or less, if you hadn't heard, most people have, said that white people should get as far away from black people as possible. And then he stated why Scott Adams is very cool with a lot of people in the internet community, such as Hotep Jesus. He was subsequently on with Hotep Jesus, amongst other people, I'm sure. Right? Everybody had to feign some sort of outrage and cancel Scott Adams because he suggested that it's safe to probably stay away from black people. And I mentioned all the things that I've said before, how they can get me canceled. Something comes to mind that I said a couple of years ago. All right, it was before my time, because Scott Adams said, according to these polls, it seems like a large percentage of people are out there of black skin who think that it's not okay to have white skin. Right? Basically, they're not sure if it's okay to have white skin. If you were to ask me, it would take some sort of poll, I wouldn't participate. But if you were to ask me, is it okay to have black skin? Of course, the answer is, of course it's okay, because there's nothing you could do about your skin. Obviously, it's common damn sense. You're born, you have skin. I'm glad you have skin. Some people are born without skin. I've seen that before. I haven't seen it, but it's like I've heard of it. Thank God you have skin. I don't care what color skin it is. It okay? Yeah, it's okay. Something you can do about it. All right. Like, existentially, it's almost like they're asking black people, is it okay if white people exist? Because it's not going to be good to live without skin. Is it okay that they have skin and exist at the same time? There are a lot of black people were unsure of it in the poll, right? And so it's just a poll. They can skew all the numbers and stuff, but it sounds a lot like reality to some people. And Scott Adams apparently just had enough. And so he came on, he talked about it. He said, white people ain't really safe around these black people because they think it's not okay for you to have skin. And like, he's not really being hyperbolic. As I mentioned before, years ago, I gave out the advice, and it was kind of like tongue-in-cheek, obviously, because I don't expect anybody to listen to me. Much less do I expect the whole black community to listen to me. But I know black people. I'm related to black people. I've always known black people, and I've had great relationships with black people. I shouldn't have to preface it by saying that, But just to say that I said years ago that if I were to give advice to black people, I would advise black people to stay away from black people, to get as far as you can away from black people, because that's where you're going to be the safest. I think it's okay that you're black. I would not change you being black. Everything's okay about being black, but if you are black, my advice was get as far as you can away from black people, and you're gonna just feel amazing, right? And it's been in my experience, at least where I'm from, I've seen it my whole life. Every time if you see a black person, and I saw it just the other day, and they're amongst a whole community of white people or Hispanic people, they always seem to me, in my opinion, to be the most happiest and safest looking people. They look so happy and safe, all right? I've seen it before, and that's why I advise them and say, because you get around too many of these black people and bad things seem to happen sometimes randomly to innocent bystanders, right? And people would want to cancel me for saying that, but that's the exact truth. Like, the newspaper is to distract you from what's the truth, the newspaper. And so they would put little comics in it, and they relied on Dilbert because Dilbert was milquetoast and it was just run-of-the-mill white people humor comics in the newspaper. They're trying to distract you. All right, that's their whole MO, whether they know it or not. They could be possessed by demons. Some people don't believe in demons, but okay, these people are just consistently not telling you what the news is and distracting you in the newspaper and the televisions. Obviously, most people who come to my channel already know that. And so they're desperate to tell you what's some gobbledygook, and they'll put Dilbert in the comics until Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, starts saying some stuff that they just don't like. All right, this is useful stuff. Got to get up out of here. All right. And we plan to get up on Rumble. Here's the idea. I'm going to explain it in other videos. I want to do little short videos, put them on YouTube. Just little ideas when I have time, because I don't always really have time. One or some ideas, put them out there. I want to see the feedback in the comments section and stuff. Do you disagree? Do you agree? What's really going on? I want to see that up in the comments section and pretty much focus on the feedback. We're going to have kind of like an echo chamber or something going on. We're going to really get down to the bottom of the nitty gritty. But as we get up out of here, it's like, dude, we live in a world where you're not allowed to say it or else you get canceled by all the newspapers, and they think they're hot stuff. And they think they canceled you. You already got a lot of money, and you already probably knew. Scott Adams likely knew exactly what was going to happen when he said this thing. Now, this thing's kind of true. And I've seen I've seen so many damn stories in which white people ain't safe around black people. All right? They get themselves involved in places where they don't belong. And they can find themselves in danger. But a long time ago, I said, the happiest people I ever seen that are black typically are at the Western bar and stuff and carrying on, and everybody loves them, all right? Or they're at the local grocery store and everybody else, there's not too many black people there. They seem very, very happy, all right, and safe for the most part, all right? And the thing is, the news would never, ever mention it, but if I were to tell, say, for example, if my white daughter, she's white, all right, yeah, it's a lot of stuff mixed in there. She's white. You would look at her and say, she's white. There'd be no wondering, perhaps, if she's white. She's very white, okay? And I would have to, in order to properly inform my daughter, wouldn't I have to whisper to her, hey, look, if there's more than 3 black people there, that's not a place that you want to be, and get up out of there. It's not that they're black and stuff. It could be black there, and that's not a problem. But if there's more than a few, you need to get up out of there because you're definitely at risk. I've heard the story over and over and over. There was a recent story about this lovely blonde girl, and she got super drunk, and nobody ever told her. She didn't have a father to say, look, don't ever leave the bar with black people, a group of black people, because you're asked for trouble, right? That particular lady found trouble. She wound up getting allegedly molested, if we could say so, and ran over it on the highway, and she dead now. May she rest in peace and stuff. She found herself in a bad way. I would have to say, hey, don't ever do this. Don't go being drunk in public, number one. Don't rely on people for a ride and stuff, some random strangers that you found to give you a ride home, all right? Do not get in the car with a whole bunch of black people and, oh, I'm a bad person because I said, if there's a whole bunch of black people there, you might definitely want to leave. And it's not a question you should want to leave. But I would definitely get canceled for saying that, even though that's what a responsible parent would do, obviously. And, the video's gone on long enough, but I do want to shout out, first of all, black people, get away from other black people and find you're living your best life. All right. And I'm sorry, but I would get canceled for it. And then secondly, white people, you're just not safe. Like, for example, we got to get up out of here, but you can Google it. Recently, I forget where exactly, you can Google it, a high school basketball team. There was a high school basketball team, and there was one that was black, or mostly black. And they came from out of town to play this other high school basketball team, which is absolutely white. They were completely white, and everybody in the stands was white, all right? And you can Google it. But the thing is, if you haven't been keeping up, this has been happening over and over and over and over again, actually. It's been happening especially in volleyball games, believe it or not, high school volleyball games, even local ones, where systematically this happens over and over and over. Okay, this is what happened. The basically mostly black basketball team that came, and they said all sort of racial things were being said to them. They said people were writing stuff like they were writing monkey and all sort of stuff in the dust in the lockers, in the locker room and stuff like that. All right. This is what's been happening over and over, even if it's not national news yet. It happens over and over and over systematically, where there is no evidence of people. They always claim that there's people in the stands making monkey noises and calling them the N-word and all this stuff. They say they're very white and they did all this stuff. It's like they never get it on video. They never ever get a copy on video. This has been happening over and over and over again, of anybody making monkey noises at them. There is no video. You figure if you were, say, a black person, and there was a whole group of white people making monkey noises at you, would you not pick up your cell phone and record them? There's never a recording. And everybody takes it very serious, and they bring out the whole police department even, and the police department investigates, and I'm talking about thoroughly. It's documented that they'll go interview dozens upon dozens of people, trying to get down to the bottom of it to see if anybody made monkey noises at the mostly black team. And as it turns out, every single time, nobody made monkey noises at the team, and that it was all made up every single time. But they do an investigation, and they always find out that it was always made up. And so it's like, dude, you can't even be safe to invite a black basketball team to come play against you. You're not safe then, because who knows what they're going to do, because a lot of them think it's not okay to be white. And so they'll do whatever and allege all these things about you, and you're not safe. You're just not safe doing it. And anyways, I'll holler at y'all. Put in some comments up in the comment section if you disagree and stuff, and we'll fight about it, all right? It's November, or no, it's not November. It's March, actually, the 17th. I'm tripping. 2023.